Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Book Talk with Cara. Today, it is a treat and delight to have Rhys Bowen with me. And it's a delight because I have been an admirer of her books forever and never thought I would actually have her on the show. So, this is so much fun. I have loved her Royal Spyness books for forever. You came up with the quirkiest, fun heroine in that series, but you also have the Molly Murphy mysteries, which are fun. And then you've got all these standalone mysteries. And so before we even get started, how do you come up with all these different ideas?
Um, I can't tell you, just something pops into my head like, wouldn't it be interesting if, and I think, the thing with writing The Royal Spyness and Molly Murphy is it's wonderful because each time you're going back into an environment where you feel comfortable, where you know things. But then ideas kept coming to me that didn't fit into either of those scenarios. So when I was given the opportunity to do standalones, it's been wonderful. My first editor there, Danielle Marshall, she loved my work, and I literally could say anything to her, like, I'd really like to write a book about Venice in various time periods. Oh, how exciting. I'd really like to write a book about, I think if I'd said to her, I'd like to write a book about a man who lives in a cave in Tibet for 30 years, she'd go, interesting. She wouldn't say, are you completely mad? So so I've been able to explore things in various time periods, then mainly historical, but and just various. And I think the idea for this came because I'm not as young as I used to be, and I thought, what if someone started a book and couldn't finish it? And so I think that was one of the starting points that I was thinking of. Yeah, what?
Well, and it's such a interesting idea because as writers, we all have our own unique style and our own unique way of approaching story. And then you've got this young writer who's coming in and has to decide whether to continue it. So, how did you come up with that mix of ideas?
Well, if someone came to me and said, would you finish one of Agatha Christie's books? Yeah, I could probably do quite a good job because I'm a very experienced writer. But if someone had come to me when I was in my 20s and said, could you finish a book by this really famous writer? Obviously in the back of my mind would be this could really make my career. But then I think there'd be a lot of self-doubt. And Emma, as we know at the very beginning of the book, has moved from Australia to England, as lots of young girls did in those days. They came to see what Europe was like when they grew up in Australia. And so she's a fish out of water in London. And I think she's had one book published to quite acclaim. Um, but she's really doubting herself. Can I ever write another book? So I think with this self-doubt, it's like, could I possibly do this? So of course, as a writer, I don't ever give myself an easy time, as you know. So I had to write a large chunk of this book in the style of Iris Blackburn, but then Iris Blackburn when she might have the beginnings of dementia, So, as Emma says when she reads it, this book could do with some serious editing. So I had to remember that when I wrote it. So it was a challenge.
Well, and it was so well done because you're like, okay, her original style made me think of Agatha Christie.
Yeah,
And then she's coming in,
yeah,
and you've got these questions of what's going on with her. Why does she need a co-writer?
yeah,
And so it was this really interesting play and mix of things going on. So
yeah.
have, excuse me, how did you pick the island of Skye? Because you've done all of these different settings.
Yeah.
What was it about the Isle of Skye that you were like, this one needs a book?
Well, the whole of Scotland to me, I've been dying to try and find a reason to set a book there because it's such one of those magical atmospheric places. Um, and I had a real adventure on the Isle of Skye quite a few years ago when some friends and I were there and we were hiking and we were all quite naive as hikers. And one of us found the map and said, "Oh, there's this really good path up Blaven, which is one of the mountains there." And so we go up, and it's a strenuous hike. And we get near the top, and suddenly the mist comes down.
Oh
And,
no.
and we literally couldn't see the person in front of us. And there's a sheer drop. And I think that's what stuck with me all this time. This is a place of great beauty and great danger at the same time. So
Oh, wow.
it was the perfect atmospheric place to set this, a place where you never know quite if you're safe.
Well, and that definitely came out in the book. I mean, it
Yeah.
was this very almost gothic type of
Yes. Yeah.
setting where
Yes.
there
Right.
was just so much in this setting that was, I don't think you could take the book and set it somewhere else and have it be the same book.
No, no, I think not because as someone else, I've done a lot of these podcasts and things in the last couple of weeks, and as someone else said, the setting is a character, and
Hmm.
yes, it is. I mean, so much of the action happens because of the setting.
Well, and that's when you know, I think, that the setting is the right one. When you
Uh-huh.
couldn't just plop the story up and move it somewhere else, so that you're like,
Absolutely.
okay,
Yeah.
this is
Absolutely.
where it's supposed to be. Just like
Yeah.
the Venice sketchbook couldn't happen anywhere else. It has to be in
That,
Venice.
that's
So when you when you think about this one, and you were there once, did you have what kind of research did you have to do? Did you go back to the Isle of Skye, or were you on Google Earth? I mean, how did you get back into, or do you just have this vivid memory where you're like, no, I was there once and I just remember every little detail about what it's like?
Well, I do have very vivid memories, and I was supposed to be going back before I wrote this, but then my husband became quite seriously ill, and there was no way I could travel. So, yes, there's loads and loads of photos and videos, and there's lots of YouTube people of someone saying, I'm walking up the fairy pools," and so I looked at them all just to remind myself, and I've got maps. In those days, one had real maps, I've got
Yeah,
maps of the Isle of Skye that I would sit and look at and plot this route, and then I'd look on Google Earth and say, are the trees on this side of the road now, or are there? And because sometimes trees are felled and things are planted and everything. But the funny thing about Scotland is that most of it's not changed.
okay, yeah.
It's still pretty wild and pretty remote, and one thing that delighted me was that the King's Arm, the same hotel, is still there and still operating. So, that was nice that from all those years ago, it's still operating. So
That is amazing.
it was fairly easy for me to get back there in my memories.
Well, and I thought that was such a neat little detail to drop into the book that, something like that has been around for centuries and is still going on.
Yeah.
Um, I haven't traveled a lot in Scotland, but Edinburgh is just such an atmospheric place to me and kind of captures that feel of, I always think of it as like Harry Potter come to life, with
Mm.
all those, it just feels so old and so ancient. And I could kind of feel that with the Isle of Skye and even being more remote. And I just think it's a place now that I want to go. It's been added to my bucket list with the hiking and all of that.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that's amazing is that there really are these awful old castles that, with these
Yeah.
stark granite walls where people still live. And you think, growing up in a place like that, would it alter your perception of life? Would it make you a different person from anybody else? And so I think that was the other one of the things I toyed with too.
Yeah. Well, and that definitely comes across in the way that you're thinking through like the families that live there and how it might
Yeah.
have impacted them. And the idea of like the slits for windows. And I'm like, if you're in that much darkness all the time, it has to impact your psyche. There's no
Yeah.
way it couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like when you go to Italy and you see the villas and there's all the sunlight and things like
Yeah.
that. It
Yeah.
feels
No.
very different.
Yeah, no, no. I think if you see some of them, you think, wow, who would ha ever want to live in that? And but people do. The same family on the north of Skye, the MacLeods have their stronghold, which really is a stronghold, and they've been there since like 1100.
That is a sense of history that
Yeah,
those of us in the United States struggle to really grab onto. As we just celebrated our 250th.
yeah,
And so that's something about traveling to Europe that always just kind of reminds me how young as a country we really are when you think about the MacLeods going back 1100 years in one
yeah,
place. That's
yeah.
amazing.
Mhm.
So, as you mentioned, this is a book within a book.
Yeah.
And it's a interesting gamble in a way. There's a lot of dual time authors where they'll write two timelines, but this is a little different because it's like a book inside a book. Why did you decide to set it up like that? Because that's kind of a interesting twist on like dual timeline.
Well, I thought it would be interesting. I thought, it was imperative actually that Emma reads Iris's book. And she could have read it and been in her head. And when we were in Scotland,
Mhm.
she could have thought, oh, but I think I like the fact I like to make my readers actually use their own intuition and brain and everything. So I hope that when Emma gets to Scotland, uh, the reader will go, "Oh, well, that's actually real." The thing she said in her book is not just it's actually real, just starting with the name of the taxi driver. So, what all these little puzzle pieces putting together, I want the reader to do that at the same time as Emma does it.
Yeah, and it was this fun, like little gift to me as a reader to see some of that happening and to be going as a writer. Okay, I wonder why you made these choices. And then to see it as a reader unfold and be like, oh, it is kind of what I thought. Or, oh, it's a little different than what I thought it would be.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so that's fun as a writer and a reader to experience that.
yeah,
Um, and Iris and Emma are an interesting duo because Iris is toward the end of her life and Emma's at the beginning of her
yeah,
life.
yeah.
But there are some things that they share. So, how did you, I guess, in some ways, what came first to you, the characters or the what if of the plot?
Um, I think what came to me to start with was this mega successful writer, Iris Blackburn. She's almost a persona larger than life in many ways, and you think if somebody's that famous, um, but then the thing that she has in common with Emma is that they're both outsiders. They really they don't really belong. They're in their own little worlds. I mean, Emma's in London that she really hasn't learnt the ropes of yet,
Mhm.
and Iris has built this beautiful, beautiful big house in England where she has every luxury she could possibly want, but she's pretty much alone there apart from her staff around her.
Yeah, and it kind of comes back to that desire that we all have to find our people, our place, and they're both so separate from. And it's interesting because at the very beginning, you have Emma ready to give it all up and go home. Like
Yes.
she is from page one, ready to say, forget all this. I'm going back to Australia, even though there's not really anything for her there.
Uh,
She's just like, London's not it. But she stays for the purpose of seeing what could be with Iris.
yeah.
And so it's an interesting kind of puzzle of, okay, why stay? Why not go back when there's nothing for her here except for the what if?
Hmm.
And that's what writers live on, right? Is the what if.
Yeah. And also that, well, I mean, so she's really in a dilemma because there's nothing for her in Australia. And, we won't give too much away, but her family has sort of disintegrated. So there's no support system for her there. But then you might say, in my own country, I know the rules. I know how people behave. I know how to get around. I know when people say something, do they mean it? And then if you're in a strange city like London, where the rules are very different, and she feels very much like a fish out of water there. How am I going to survive here? She does have two very nice flatmates who are also Aussie girls who are quite well established and seem to be doing quite well. But uh, but that's the only real link to any other people that she has at the moment.
Yeah. So she's got the genesis of community, but it's still pretty small.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so much self-doubt, which is so common, especially in the young,
Yeah,
but pops up for a lot of us at different points in time.
yeah.
So as you think about this book, if your book, especially your standalones, are perfect for book clubs, is there one question or thought or idea that if you could sit in on a book club, you would love to hear them debate? Because I know whenever I get to sit in with a book club when they're talking about one of my books, I always feel like I learned something about the book I've written.
Yeah. I think the one thing that moral issues that come across, was Iris justified in sending Emma to the Isle of Skye.
Mhm.
And we can't
Yeah.
say why. We can't say why, and we
Nope.
can't say, but since I, in my youth, knew it to be a place of danger, was she, and it could be of great danger for Emma, was she justified in thinking that Emma should go there and find out more?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it kind of encapsulates a lot of
Yeah,
what's going on in the book, but readers will have to read the book to find out what they think
yeah,
about that.
yeah, absolutely. Yes, have to.
Okay, so a lightning round. These are
Yeah.
questions that could be faster to answer. 3 words for the book's feel.
Ah, I would say evocative, atmospheric, suspenseful.
Yes, absolutely. Um, and I don't know, some people like tropes, some people don't. Is there a trope that you feel like you embraced, or you're like, nope, I don't do tropes?
I would think maybe the heroine in danger going into the gothic setting.
Hmm. Yeah. And because it does, it like the whole Isle of Skye feels like a Gothic setting
Yeah,
to me.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, and readers who love fill in the blank book or movie will love The Castle in the Glen because,
Oh, I mean, I tried to think about this, and I think the closest that I come to it is my childhood favorite, what was Mary Stuart,
oh,
because she her settings were her primary part of her books. You know, when you read one of her books, you really were there. And she actually did write a brilliant one on the Isle of Skye called Wildfire at Midnight, which was one of my favorites when I was younger. But her it's a romantically dangerous setting with her always, and then a heroine who has to somehow find herself and survive. And I think, that's the closest that I can come.
I love it. And I just got another recommendation. So
Yeah,
yay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. And this one seems to be a tricky one. 3 favorite books of all time.
Well, the first one is for me an absolute no-brainer, The Lord of the Rings. I read it when I was a teenager, and I read it literally every 6 months for many years, and still it's no, it's still at that point I decided I would never write fantasy because I could never do any better than that. So that's one. And then the other two, um, I think The Handmaid's Tale, it was just so brilliant. It was just so foreshadowing. Um, and um, and oh, a real favorite is A.S. Byatt's Possession.
Ooh,
Do you know that? It's about it's again two time periods. In the present, two young researchers are independently researching two Victorian poets. And through their research and the letters, they find that these two have had a passionate affair that nobody knows about. So it's a wonderfully written book.
oh, okay. Who was the author in that one?
Byatt, Byatt, A.S. Byatt.
See, I love this. I'm getting all these recommendations.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Okay. And then this one's fun. What's your favorite word?
You might have guessed it from this. I think it has to be absolutely. I use it quite often.
It's a good one. It puts a
Yeah,
nice little punctuation on things.
yeah.
And then um, I haven't gotten to this one with anyone else, so this will be fun to see. What's the most influential person in your life whom you are not related to?
Again, I thought about this, and I have to say it's not a person. I'm cheating. It's not a person, it's a group of people. I am part of a group blog called Jungle Red Writers. There are 7 of us. There's Hank Philippi Ryan, Hallie Efron, Roberta Isleb, um, Deborah Crombie, Jen McKinley, and Julia Spencer Fleming.
Oh,
And
that's a great group.
we chat almost every day. We're just a complete therapy for each other. We're a support group from everything like, you know, um, if you were going to get a plumber, what would that from that sort of
Yeah.
thing to I'm battling with a title, which one do you think? And so, literally we bounce off each other's work, and we've gone through now we've lost 3 husbands in the group, so we've been a support for that. And so, literally they are very influential in my life. They're
Oh,
like the sisters I didn't have.
I love that. That is such a gift to have that kind of community.
Yeah.
I love it when that happens.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Rhys. It's been a delight, and I truly loved The Castle in the Glen. It's such a great atmospheric mystery suspense read and that I think everyone will enjoy. When does this book come out?
August the 4th.
All right. And where can people learn more about you and your books?
Well, I have a website, rhysbowen.com. I'm quite active on Facebook. It's author Rhys Bowen, and I'm active to a certain extent on Instagram. I'm not the most diligent Instagram poster, but you will find me there. And yeah, that's it for now. I've moved away from Twitter and things, so you won't find me there anymore.
Yeah. Well, and that's quite a lot. There's
Yeah,
always more stuff coming out, but we got to
yeah,
find the things we like and stick with
yeah.
those.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, and
thank you again.
also, I should add, I do have a newsletter, and you can sign up. It's about every 2 months it comes out. You can sign up for that on my website quite easily.
Perfect. All right. Well, the book is The Castle in the Glen, releasing in August. And thank you so much again for joining me, Reese. It's been a delight.
Well, thank you, Cara. It's been very nice.